What's up, loves? I'm picking back up on this project I dropped off, I think last week, maybe a week before. So you all get to see me work on this, and maybe I'll get a chance to start doing more of these based on the requests and the interest that I have for them. So what this will be a combination of a mock-up as well as a template that'll be printable. So I'm pulling in my elements, and I just wanted to show y'all pretty much, I did a part 1 of this video, check that out. So we got this far. Part 2 was bringing in the images that I took. You even see my little toesies there. Well, they're not that little. So this is the image that I took on a board, so I knew the dimensions of the board, and I was able to kind of get the size correct from modifying it. So that was that step. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those layers because I do not need them anymore, because I cleaned out the background and now I have my front and back of my stole. And all we need for the back is this little top part up here, so I'm working on that next. I'm going to leave the shadow, but I am going to get rid of this extraneous part. We don't need to see the front, but I'll leave it there just in case, because all I'm going to do is create a layer mask. So it's non-destructive, just in case I ever need that information again. As a matter of fact, I'll go opposite. I'll go top. Come this way, and I'm clicking and dragging when I want a curve, and then I just quick click if I want a point. Alright, got that there. I'm going to go ahead and make this a mask. And as you can see, that's my back. This will be my front. I'm going to keep them aligned for right now, because basically what I'm going to do is go ahead and design it pretty much visually first, and then I'll make sure that everything that I want to show shows, and I know exactly where my print safe areas are. For instance, you may not want to put anything on the shoulder or immediately up top here, because a lot of times they'll have like an extra piece that may go around their front of their chest that would cover up this area, so you don't want anything really important up there. And I'm going to guess that my design area is going to be pretty much right about here down, and then I'm going to design within these areas, but I'll have bleed that'll go into the tails, and that'll go over the shoulders. And then as far as the back goes, we'll make sure that we don't put any important information immediately there, and maybe we'll put a little bit of something here, but we don't want to go crazy here, because you don't know if somebody's going to have hair down or that sort of thing. So it's really not the optimal place to place things, but I want you to have an option if you wanted to do that. So we'll add you know, maybe like some text or something back there. So in this case, let's go ahead and see what we want to really show. And I'm going to make sure that my front and back are linked, so that when I move one, I move the other. Go ahead and turn on our little friend here. All right, and as you can see, when I'm moving this around, this template is meant to have a little bit of a bleed area, but also meant to show you where not to really, you know, to go past this area if you want to preserve your images, like the faces. I try not to make sure faces aren't running off, and words or your text. So I call this the text safe, print safe area. And of course you have a little bit of bleed there, and I'm just going to make sure I'm within this area. Good. That's about right. And then I'll test it too. Once I do it, I'll make sure it could be different for your graduation. So this one is for a 72-inch. So you have some 60-inch ones. You have some that may not be this exact curved shape. There are some that are more straight than they are curved. So what this is more of a suggestion of how you would design, create, mock up, etc. And what I'll do is I'll make sure that whatever you print and however you do this, that you're able to tile pieces and get a pretty continuous design. Because I've seen some where they're probably using the 13 by 19 sheets and just kind of like cutting off at the top and bottom. And if we can make it look a little more like, I will say like fully printed, even I would just, if I had to cut it off to white, I would just fade it. I would not let it just straight cut off because it looks very obvious. So we'll figure out some ways to do that too along the way. So I'll just talk you through it. This isn't the tutorial for necessarily how to edit the template when I make it. This is more or less showing you my process of how I go about creating templates, so you get to see what I really do, and at the same time encourage you to create your own templates. I want to show you, I'm a little, eventually we'll do the graduation cap topper too and make a mock-up for it, but I want to show y'all I used whatever was in my house in quarantine. I used a water jug and a pot there so I can take a picture of this grad cap that I have, because we're going to use it to do a little mock-up. Okay, so I'll turn that off because right now we're going to focus on this. All right, so let's see. First thing I want to do is figure out what design I want to use, and I want you all to be confident that the designs you already have, or like the t-shirt templates, I'm actually going to be using that one. Let me see, my watercolor. I think I want to use my watercolor version. Now this is the all over, but you might have the watercolor version that is just the 13 by 19. So let's see, which one would I rather use? Let me go with the 13 by 19 watercolor, because this one will be smaller and it won't be such a large file. And I'll show you how you can do either one. You're just pulling over elements from one template to another. And this way you're learning how to, mix and match your resources so that you're not feeling like you have to buy a template for everything that you do. You'll start to realize how you can reuse some of the elements from the different templates, combine them, and make them look like something totally different. Now what I'm going to do right now is just go ahead and, well, I can't do anything, of course, until this big old file opens up. And we're almost there. And this is not 13 by 19. That was my first issue. So once I change that to 13 by 19, that would make this file smaller and better. Go ahead and save that. And what I'm going to do is, let's do this blue version. So I'll go ahead and bring over the watercolor. See that whole group right there? I can literally drag and drop it, bam, right into the Photoshop of a whole new file. And it brings the whole folder with it if you had the folder selected. So I'm doing Control T, and I think what I'm going to do is, because I like the concentrated look of the watercolor, is I'm going to imagine one side only at a time. And I'm going to tell you why, because when I create the template, I'm going to just split it straight in the middle. And you're going to imagine that it'll split. So when I bring it into the mock-up, it will exactly place where we want it to place. So I'm just getting my idea of about how tall I want the watercolor image to go. And now, instead of calling this watercolor blue silver, I'm going to call this the art, because I'm going to turn this into a smart object. And as a matter of fact, I need to be a little smarter. Before I turn it into a smart object, I'm going to make sure that this is the exact height and width that I want. to make sure that it's going to cover everything here. And you'll see why I'm doing this in just a moment. Because this is also going to cover my bleed area. And we may make it a tad bit wider just so I can cover that curve. There we go. And from here, I'm going to right click and convert to a smart object. Now that it's a smart object, I can right click and create a clipping mask, and it's going to clip it to this to the stole here. All right, I'm feeling good about that. And I am witnessing a little bit of overlap onto the second part of the stole or the other side of the sole, but that's perfectly fine. We're going to fix all of that. Right now, it's just about imagining your space, imagining what you really want to do with it, how you want to decorate it, and already this is coming together for me and I'm excited. The other thing I'm going to do before I start on the artwork, let me go ahead and do an adjustment layer, and I'm going to make it black and white so that it takes that yellow tint out of it. So now see I get a clean white, almost even a silver. And then the other thing I can do is a layer adjustment for the levels, and the levels kind of control how much of the shadows and highlights and that sort of thing. So if I want really deep dark shadows so that I can see the fabric, I call it the motion of the fabric, although the fabric isn't moving, but you get the idea there. And then of course this is just an adjustment layer, so I didn't really change anything about the image permanently. Okay, and then for the artwork, what I would end up doing is probably putting it on multiply so that I can see the folds and things underneath it. So it's not just strictly cut into this shape, it is really feeling like it is sublimated onto the fabric there. Okay, Control T, let me just make sure. Oh, because it's a smart object now, it has all the extraneous stuff. So I'm going to double click this smart object and see what I have going on my artboard. And of course, I have a lot kind of outside of the space of this immediate watercolor area, and that's why my area is so big out here. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get an idea for the height here, and I'm just going to draw a box because this should be pretty much to scale. Uh-oh, I forgot I have my box on to go from the center. I'm going to take that off, and I just want to see, why is it coming from the center? I thought I took that off. To Control T, and let's just make this box, holding down Shift and making it just big enough to where it covers my my bleed area and where I say the top of this stole is, and also from left to right. So what this is giving me an indication of, you know, how big this print area should really be for me to judge how this is going to look on the mock-up. But this is all to scale right now, and then eventually when I'm making just a mock-up, I'll make the file smaller because this is probably a pretty big file right now. Alright, so the size of the rectangle is in pixels right now, but I can right click and tell it to show me inches. So this is giving me 6 inches by 29 inches. So if I'm doing, it just barely gives me, and it doesn't actually, because 29 is going to be more than 2 sheets. So what I'm trying to imagine is whether this is going to give me my full image off of 113 by 19. But I think what we can do is pull off with the watercolor look, definitely, because you can still have the white background. So I'm going to do that so we keep it simple. All right, so let's say 6. Go ahead and create a new one, new box. And this one is going to be, I'm just going to go ahead and make it 6 inches. If I can spell inches, by 29 inches. And it went ahead and made a box for me. And I am going to pretty much put another one right next to it. Alt, click and drag. It made a duplicate. I'm going to give it a little bit of space in between. And now this is for me to understand how much print area I really have going from the top of the shoulders down to the bottom of the stole. Now what I can do with these rectangles, I'm going to go ahead and group them and create an overlay, color overlay. I'm going to make it white and bring the opacity to 100%. And I'm just going to add a little bit, I'm going to do a drop shadow, just so it reminds me where my outside is. And I'm going to take that drop shadow off when I get ready to truly mock this up. But this is just going to be kind of my reminder. You could also do a stroke if you wanted to, and do the stroke. Matter of fact, do a stroke, and then do a really odd color that you know you will take off. I have before done drop shadows as my bleed area, you know, and then I mistakenly print the drop shadows, end up pressing it into the fabric. So to avoid that, I'm going to do it this way. And then for my blending options, looks like I'm having some issues with that there. Oh, I know what happened. I dropped this somewhere in the middle of my watercolor. I really want this to be really outside of this group. I don't know why it dropped inside of the group. I guess I had a layer selected. Bring it below. All right, so now I'm seeing all my colors. All right, so now I can be a little more artistic with my placement. I can grab my photos. So in this case, I have my images, and I want my color guard image. So I'm just going to grab just the image itself and drop it on there. And of course, I'm going to bring it to the front. And same thing with the watermarked images. One and two. And for this one, I may or may not. Yeah, let's go ahead and bring it in like that. I'll bring the whole folder for watermarked images, so you'll have that option in the template if you want to watermark them. Basically, all it is that the transparency is decreased, and I made it black and white. Okay, so I have my watermark image, and as a matter of fact, I think I want to use this purple, because the purple one, I have the logo and I have some good pictures. So let's see who's in the purple. So watermarked, I have that one. I need the main image, foreground photos. Let's bring track up. Here we go. So I'll basically use these to switch out. And we'll show you how to do that. So this will be photos, full color, and then these will be our watermarked images. Yep, that'll work. And this image will go into our full color photo. This will go for our track. And I want to say that our track star is a senior this year? I don't know. This will be Akiva. I can't remember exactly whose photos those were. So, you know, if I end up using your photos, that you can hit me up and I'll send you a coupon code so that you can download the template for free. Okay, so let's see what we want to add here. Let's take off track image. Let's bring the logo over for sure. And you see, all I'm doing is borrowing elements from the same template. I could literally bring all of these things into this template as one big group, and I just don't suggest it because if there's extraneous stuff you don't need, it's just making the file big for no reason. But I could shift and group all of that, and I could bring this whole group over, and I would get every single thing that is in this group that was in that file is now in this group. So that's one way to do it too. I'm just choosing to bring over elements as I need them, simply because it makes the file, you know, as small as it can be. You're only bringing over what's necessary. So if we want to, do I want to put this text in here? I did something because I think it was like an outline or something on here before. So I definitely edited something. Let me go to revert. If you never knew about this, revert brings the file to the version of it before you touched it. And I think I may have even have done something when I reverted it. I'm sure, I'm positive I'll figure it out in just a little bit. So let's say I'm going to grab the name. We'll do something with that. So like I said, I'm just bringing over what I want. And then we'll bring this above everything else. Drop shadows on there. Let's group and let's call this text. And we're going to keep these simple because most of the time the emphasis is on logo, class, class year, possibly, you know, what extracurricular activities they may be involved in. But usually it's not cluttered. It's not, you know, so busy that you have to do a lot to it. And let's go ahead and do a drop shadow on those. There it goes. I'm just playing with the size and spread because when you do change the size and scale, you can definitely see differences in your layer, your text effects. All right, so let's see. I said that we'll have school name, graduating baby's name, and class of. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out now because it's a big file I didn't need open in the first place once I bring all my elements over. And let's start editing. Name here. So maybe you'll do first and last name like that. But let's go ahead, Control T. And I'm going to transform this text, make it smaller. Now I don't have my guidelines on right now, so I know that if I do it like this, I am going to be way too big, but I'm just going to do what I want to do right now, and then I'll tweak it once I update it. So we have the name, we'll have school name, your school or your town, your town, your town, and then let's put high school. And then I'll create an alternate version of the text too, because I've noticed I do a lot of or I try to do some balance when it comes to like the masculine and some of the feminine style typography, so that we'll have a balance for that. So I'll do an alternate typography setup too, and usually it'll be in this folder where it'll say text 1 and text 2. All right, so high school, let's make that a little bit smaller. That's how I know for a fact we're going to have to make this smaller, but this is showing you my process, showing you all my goods. All right, so something else that we needed. Oh, the logo. Dang, I think that's what I was supposed to get from that file. All right, so let me open that file back up. And let's grab logo, and this way I'll have the blue version of it and the purple version of it, because all I did was take the same logo and just show you an example of how you can change the color. So that's in there. That's all you need. So the moral of the story is that when you have a nice kind of flowing composition, and when you have good design elements like the watercolor background, you don't need too much. You don't need to inundate someone with 1,200 pictures on here. As a matter of fact, I would do 3 pictures, you know, as my standard, and then I charge more per photo. So the more photos I have to play with, and you know, because it's like a puzzle. You got to piece these things together, and they give you all kind of extra stuff. You really have to play with it, and your mind has to figure out where it goes. So you keep it simple to 3 things, and I'll do the version that has 5. I think it has 5 images. So we have a 3 photo version, a 5 photo version, and I need to do some of my boys because I highlight the girls a lot. I need to do one with my boys. I'll find one that has. Matter of fact, we just did one with, I think, is it Rona? Yep, we'll do this one. So my alt version, I'll do another big file. And again, like I said, I'm borrowing from the template file. So for instance, this template file, you could do the solo design. Hello, you have a whole new graduation stole design. You're going to do it the same way that I'm doing this. Bring over your elements and just set them up. All I really want are the photos though, so I'm just going to drag, but then I'm going to need his logo. I'm going to probably end up just pulling this whole thing in, knowing me. So I'll select top to bottom, shift, group. I'm just going to bring their group over. But this does show you how you can take a 13 by 19 setup and pull it over straight into your stole design and, you know, get busy from there. And you see also how I'm probably making my file huge. All I need And I'll bring this to the top so it's out of my text group. And I'm just going to turn it off now. But this is going to remind me to do that version for, so this one I have two different things in it. So this is going to be a very interesting template. It's going to have a lot. And no, I don't need to save that. All right, so logo. Let's do the logo. And this is not, you know, set in stone. And then up here, like I said, usually there's something that may be draping across the top. So I don't want to put anything really important like anyone's face. But you can be the judge of that when you're laying it out. I'm going to grab this photo, bring it up. This photo, bring it up as well. And then the color guard image here, the full image, I don't want to make it too big because I don't want it to go over into my second side. Because I'm pretty sure that I'm going to pretty much trim this. Just take name here and last name. I don't want anything too close down here because remember this is where we have that little triangle cut off. So you automatically know you're going to have less space there. So I'm just going to bring it up a little bit. I can even put it, because the bottom of her shoes are kind of blended off, I can put it down there. But I think I'm going to drag that right there. Same thing with the name and mascot or logo. Like if you had a mascot image, you can throw that there too. So it can be a mascot or a logo. And let's grab the logo, put it here. All right, so I am going to save this. Just see what I'm working with so far. I have to work back and forth when I'm making these templates like this. Because it's not just a template, it's a template and a mock-up. So I want to make sure that how I'm designing it makes sense when you open it. All right, so I can get rid of that rectangle now. And see, it's already kind of coming together here. And what it's showing me is my little pink lines there are pretty much the outside of the box that I created before. So I can definitely tell my text needs to come in some more, for sure. And also, this will give me the opportunity to see where part 2 starts. So what this is helping me to do is I'm going to create an alternate version. That'll be my second side. All right, and so far my left and right side are overlapping. They're the same image, so when I double click and change art, copy or art, it's going to change the image in the same way. So that's why I was saying I was going to mock them up well, I'm designing it side by side, but whenever my mock-up shows, it's going to separate them and make them look like they're on the left and right sides respectively. So let's do, I'm going to wait to do my layer mask because I want to make sure everything fits on here just yet. Let's double click. Back to the artboard, and also you may find for your watermarked images right now, we have the opacity is at 65%. You may want to crank it up so it's more visible. or you can make them not watermarked at all. You can turn them up 100%. You can turn off the levels and the black and white, and now you have your 100% color, which looks good for this. So I'll be able to show you both ways, and you'll always be able to activate these. Okay, so we have a full color on. That's what I'm doing. Text. Your town and high school. I'm going to call this high school name, and then I'll call this other group. Control G is going to group them. We'll call this one first and last name. Alrighty, Control T. Go ahead and bring this in. And I'll double check after all is said and done to make sure that I'm within my print area. And it may look like you're making the text a lot smaller, and my inclination and my gut always tells me like bigger is better, so I try to print like to the extremes. But sometimes you end up messing yourself up like that because you'll cut off a whole letter trying to make something really big when in actuality giving yourself that little half an inch to an inch of bleed room and room for error, because we all make errors. If you press it a little bit closer to one side than another, you risk losing a letter, and if it doesn't spell what it's supposed to spell, then you have to remake it. So in that sense, I'm going to tell you to go smaller than you believe. It really is something I fight with all of the time, and almost every time I try to print too big, I definitely end up paying for it in the long run. So I'm trying to make sure that this snaps in the center of, not with my star, but in the center of my shape here. All right, so name of the school, we have the glitter effect in this one. And of course you can do this for the guys too, and you can leave the glitter for the guys, or you can take the glitter out. That option is available embedded in this background. So this will be kind of like a 2-for-1, because we'll keep the solo design and we'll do the watercolor, which I think the watercolor is classic for anyone, whether it be male, female, young, or older. The watercolor just looks elegant. And look at that. You use a lot less ink because you're not having to fully cover the background, which we can do that too, and I'll show you that later. All right, so let's see how this looks. Let me save that. See what our placement's looking like. And I probably should have shrunk that logo too, because we're pushing it on that edge over there. Okay, so I'm getting much better into my space. I'm not really worried about these pink lines here because they're actually overlapping from the other side. So Yorktown High School is still giving me issues. And I don't mind the logo hanging off the edge here if it means that it can be, nice and big here. But I definitely can't have this text hanging off. Oh, I know the reason why this is looking weird, because the stole gets skinnier from the bottom to the top. So as I'm thinking I have all of this space, I don't. And I probably could do this. Let me grab one of these, drag it over. It should drag it over to scale. There we go. Now I can stop guessing where my bleed lines are. So let's do that, and let's do no fill, and then I'll just keep my strokes. That will help me out tremendously. All right, and then I'm going to duplicate this. Control T. I'm going to rotate it. And this will kind of let me know where I stand when it comes to how much space I really have available. Much better. All right. Zoom back in. Now the other thing I can be aware of, I might as well build it into the template, is where my 13 by 19 would be. So I don't put anything really important in areas that need to overlap. It's not necessary, but it will help. 13 inches by 19 inches. And really, I need to be looking at 12.5 inches by 18.5 inches because we'll need to account for a little bit of overlap. So for this one, I'm going to give myself a stroke and no fill. So I get an idea of where my paper is going to overlap. Now, it seems funny that you can overlap. I'd rather overlap on a face than overlap where text is. And let me tell you why. Text is usually very noticeable whether you have lined it up just right. So I'm going to pretty much do my best to make sure I don't have to tile any text or any faces, if you can avoid faces too. So what I'm doing here is just kind of estimating what my 13 by 19 overlaps will look like. And I did Alt, click and drag, and I'm holding down Shift now to make sure it stays in that same vertical plane. And this kind of lets me know how my overlap looks. So I know it looks real confusing right now, but this is helping. These are guidelines. So I'm going to take all of these guides and drag them to the front. And then I'll bring the opacity down so it's not so distracting. Group. Guides. So now I can see the high school name. Definitely out of pocket. We need to be within this blue area here, which is much smaller than I had it. Now if the shadow runs off, no biggie, but you don't want an actual letter to get cut off. So that definitely changed that size, and if I want to tell y'all the correct way, I will take the logo and make it fit a little bit better. Less is cropped off. Like I said, I don't mind a logo like coming off or a mascot coming off. Let's see. Everything else looks good. This face here is way too close to this curve, so I'm going to make sure that this image, her face is inside of the text and image safe area. Okay. Now let's turn off our guides. Control S to save. Still saving. right, looking good. Now maybe one thing I could do too, I'm thinking because the name has to be so small here, I could balance it and put text in text, but I think I'll leave it like this because you know that you can copy and paste this group, or you can alt click and drag in order to duplicate this this text group left and right. But if I leave this one small here, yeah, I think I'll leave that one small there because I want to make sure that you have an idea of how to appropriately use these guides. So let's double click on our art now, and I think I have to put class of 2020 on here. So we'll take the same first name, last name text over here, alt click drag, and we'll call this one class of 2020. There we go, simple, simple. And what I really should have done is reactivated my guides so I can know where my bleed lines are. And I'm close with that class of. And I'm going to bring this above the logo. There we are. And then I don't have anything going down here because I'm not sure if it's going to look clean when it prints down that way. So I'm just going to leave it alone. Hey, I'm almost done. I procrastinated on this. I should have had this done a long time for y'all. I'm sorry. Oh. Was it 100 pictures of Pookie is not needed? No, it's not. Let me tell y'all something. My pet peeve is, even if they're high quality photos, somebody sends me a whole like Google Drive of every picture they took for the basketball team, the graduation photos, baby pictures, and like, oh, well, I just put everything, you just pick what's best. No, ma'am. You know how hard that is to do, how time consuming. You can't pick the best pictures. So sometimes even too much, even if they just say, oh, pick how many you think, and I have to pick 5 out of those 100, it's work. So I'm telling you, people don't, I don't know if they know and they just don't care, or if they just really don't know, like what stresses you out as a designer. So yeah, keep it simple. 3 to 5 pictures. Anything more than that, and I would say 3 pictures. Charge something for 3 pictures. Charge maybe like a $10 upcharge. So $5. Just tell them $5 per extra picture after 3. Watch the number of photos they send you drop down. I promise you. Oh boy. Let's see. I'm checking in on y'all to see if y'all have any questions or comments, feedback, anything of that nature. Right, I'm telling you, when you switch from the consumer or the client to the provider of the service, your whole outlook changes on what is what's easiest for the process, and you learn it real quick too. So I'm happy to see y'all still hanging out. All right, so I know that picture count. I'm telling you, let them start sending you them drive links, or their what is it, the iCloud links that have like the folder with everything in it. No, baby, we gotta work something out here. All right, so I think this one is pretty much good to go. I'm going to double check with my lines. Matter of fact, I'll keep these guidelines on this time. That way I can see if I'm really matching it up. If my mojo is really mojo. We're about to check that right now. So when I have this ready for y'all, y'all will be able to appreciate all of this love that goes into these templates. I hope y'all, I know y'all appreciate it. I'm not even gonna hope. I know y'all appreciate it because I hear it all the time. Okay, so I'm gonna move my left and right respectively because remember I have the multiply on. So this is actually the right one overlapping, and my blue should just barely be like right on time. I wasn't supposed to be moving it up and down. I was only supposed to be maneuvering it left and right. Oh, I forgot it's also kind of rotated a little bit. So I may need to rotate it to get it just right. But yeah, I do need to rotate it. The way these tails are, they are curved. So I'm going to have to rotate the left one a little bit different than the rotation of the right one. Up. I don't want to resize it though. That's one thing I don't want to do. I only want to rotate it. Here we go. And I'll do the same thing to left side, which is really the right side when it's printed. Let me zoom in so I can make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. That should be about right. Okay, so now I can go into my art and turn off my guidelines. Turn off the guides. And let's also go to our background group here and we'll turn off those boxes. Let's see what we're working with. I think this works, and then what I'll do because this is the watercolor image, I'm really trying to figure out a way to make this to where you can just tile the 13 by 19 sheet twice. Or even trim the one 13 by 19 sheet to get one side, and the 13 by 19 sheet can be printed left and right for the other side. So what we're going to do, because this is the watercolor version, we're going to leave some of the white showing. Because I believe that's what most people have been doing. I don't think most people have been doing like full bleed. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make it simpler for you. I don't want you to have to print a whole nother sheet of paper just to get another 2 inches out of this design. So, not there. We're going to do it in the art copy. I'm going to make sure my art doesn't go outside of the 13 by 19 boxes. And where are they? Could I fit it on one 13 by 19 box? We're about to see right now. Duplicate that layer. And then we'll have another 13 by 19 version that's just focused on, you could. It'll be just like how when we do the 13 by 19 t-shirt designs. No, I'm not going to do that. I'd rather you tile it and get the full. This will be a 2-sheet tile. And then we'll do 1 tile for the back of the neck. I think that's how we'll do it. So we'll do half a page and half a page for the left, half a page and half the page for the right, and then a full page or whatever is left to do the back. So that's going to be a total of 3 sheets. So yeah, I think that's not bad. You use 3 sheets to fully cover. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. But what I'll do, we will make a 13 by 19 version. You know, I always give you like a clip and mask option. So I'm going to make a clip and mask option. But what I will have to do is take the, we'll call that watercolor color background. I'll duplicate it and we'll call this one 13 by 19. See how that looks. So hopefully you don't have to move your image around. I'm just going to make sure it fits inside of this 13 by 19 here. Then at least you won't be like some of the ones I've seen that do sharply cut off. You'll have a little transition because you'll have the watercolor image that has an organic shape to it and doesn't just like straight cut off. So that'll be our 13 by 19 option. It'll give you a little bit of bleed room. Yeah, that'll work. So let's turn off the guides and let's see how the 13 by 19 option looks. And then this will be literally a 1-sheet press. So let's hit yes. We're going to save that. Let it update. Zoom in. So this is what I was saying. If you have to, you know, kind of do this in a quick 13 by 19 setup. And let me tell you the truth. If you were doing it like this, I wouldn't even press the left and right separately. I would literally print out my 13 by 19 sheet and line the left and right sides up, pretty much put a little heat tape between the two and press 1 time a 13 by 19 sheet and you're done. As long as you make sure that your text isn't going to get cut off. But that's an option right there. It's not bad. It's not as bad as I thought, but I do feel like it looks a little more impressive with the you know, with the tiled look so that it goes all the way up. But yeah, that's not necessary at all. Now let me know what you think. And maybe you say you use 2 sheets. Now, do you typically do the back side of the stole, or are you just doing the like the left and right? And I know it just barely gives you space, like it just barely covers, and you might end up with a little bit of white on the tips down here. So that's what I think I'll do. I'll do it to where we can use 2 sheets. You'll end up tiling the 2 sheets, so I'll split the left and right of the paper. We'll use 2 sheets, and you may end up with a little bit of white overhang, but it's going to have a cool background. There we go. So 2 sheets. All right, so let's get into it. Let's keep going. So I have that 13 by 19 one in there just in case somebody's scared and only wants to do this little, or not even scared. I'm not going to call you scared. It might just be efficiency time. You know, people aren't paying you to print all over and paste up all of these sheets. Trust and believe I understand. I overstand. All right, so I'm going to turn the 13 by 19 one off because I like the bigger look. And then let's figure out what we're going to do with the back now. So for the back of the stole, I think I have it hidden. That's the back. And it should still be the scale, so when I drag it over, oh shoot, did it drag the appropriate layer? It did not drag it with the layer mask on it. Is it not going to give me my layer mask back? So in order to get my layer mask, then I'm going to go ahead and make that a group. So I can just drag the group. I think this has a linked layer too. Yeah, it does. Okay, so when I bring my front, I might as well go ahead and bring my front back over. Let's go ahead and group that. And I don't need it to have the image on there. It's going to be a little confusing. And I'm using this just primarily for layout purposes, not to actually keep this in this layer. Alright, so have my guides on. Just go ahead and activate the back and not the front. And then this way I can see how much more I need to go up in order to reach that. So if this is the center point, let's go for it. If we're gonna, tile it, we might as well tile it enough to where we get both of those 13 by 19 sheets. Let me turn those guys back on. Rectangle 1 and 2, and I will disable. I'll just call this one 13 by 19 single. This one will be top tile. Oh, I have caps lock on. Top tile, and then bottom tile. Okay, that's good to know. So if some of you won't be doing the whole tile and some of you will be doing just the middle area, that's perfect. So we'll make sure that this template accommodates both. Very good point. All right, so let's do the full bleed. We're going to go all the way to the top with this one. So we'll call this one full. Oh, we'll call this one all over, just like we do for the t-shirts. We'll have an all over version and we'll have a 13 by 19 version. You know I'm always looking out for y'all. All right, so I'm going to stretch this one up until I'm getting very close to there. All right, so I have left, right, top, bottom, and the only thing is when we go to press the back, or really the top. What we're going to have to do is cut it off right at this angle here. And that's just going to have to be something you manually do. So in order to make it easier, I'll make the watercolor drop right below that angle so you don't mess up and overlap. Even though it's watercolor, you overlap watercolor sublimate, and like watercolor features and sublimation are not detectable if you overlap them. But let's say we were doing like a solid color fade off, that would definitely hurt you a little bit. So that. And then when I mock up the back, we'll see how that's going to play. Let's take off the back. And what's funny is we're going to need both. We're going to need two to make one for the back. That should work. Save. Things I go through for my loves. But y'all can see also why it took me quite a little while to finally get this one done. Alright, I'm saving. Alright. Let's go back and what did I do? Oh, I just turned it off. I thought I deleted it. Alright, so I am going to turn off the front for right now and only focus on the back. But I will need the artwork. And then what I'm looking for is, honestly, the artwork is going to be flipped. Control T, I'm going to rotate. So this is my template. This side continues to the other side. So this is basically going to be more or less upside down. This is going to be the corner of this template. This is the world of mock-ups. Like, you have to think backwards. Sometimes I'm trying to figure out what's actually going to be showing from the perspective of the back if I continue that print all the way up. So I'm going to create one there. Make sure that I'm fitting within my guidelines there. That's one, and then the other one, I have to duplicate this. Control T, and then I have to rotate this one the opposite way and get this part of the graphic. Okay. See if we're about on there. Alright, so now this got totally confusing, but I still think I understand what I'm doing here. We'll go back into our artwork. Turn off the guides. Go ahead and update the artwork. And now our job is to create these clipping masks that will kind of hide the parts that are overlapping. for the mock-up purposes. Of course, we're going to take these two and create a clipping mask so that they clip into the back. And this is where I was saying you have to decide if you really want to make this V shape here and you want to spell something on the back. I'm just going to advise you not to spell anything on the back, because if you want to spell something on the back, it messes up your tiling. You do have to use a third sheet, because that's the only way that you can pretty much make this look seamless and still still continue your front images. So that's just gonna be what it is. And then of course our front activates. And what I'll do for the front, I'm going to do a layer mask here. And for the front, we're going to map off the inside here, because more than likely you're not sublimating both sides of this thing. Okay, so let's make it realistic and tell them they're not going to get anything in that area. So let's do our pen tool here. I'm going to start here. Click and drag to get my curves, click and drag to run that off. Come back over on this side, click and drag. Now what I need to do is make sure that this is going to be a clipping mask for the art, but not for the actual back. Oh, I know it'll be easier to do than that. Create this on the outside layer. Delete that layer mask, and let's go ahead and turn this into a selection. We will do a layer mask, but what we're going to do is a layer mask, and we're going to, instead of reveal the selection, we're going to hide the selection. So that just hid that. And I'm going to go ahead and merge. Can I merge those two down? I think I can only merge down one at a time. Let me merge that down and merge this black and white down. That way when I create a copy of it down here, oh, it did not create a copy. What did it do? Alt, click and drag. There's my copy. That way when I add my artwork back, it's clipping to the front. I still have my back on. Let's see. It looks like I need to do a little bit of cleaning up on this, so I'm going to do it to the original. And then duplicate that. So let's disable the layer mask. Disable it. And I need to clean up the bottom of this stole a little bit. It's not a clean line, and I'm just not catching that. Take off the art. And let's get our pen tool. And I can be very exact if I want to. So I can have as much control and detail as I kind of give this. The more nodes, the more detail you can get, but you also end up with kind of complicated lines. So I do see all that mess right there, and I want to clean it up. Now, obviously I didn't see this when I was using the magic wand tool, but this is why using the pen tool will get you a cleaner a much cleaner outline. And did not mean to click on that last node. Now see, this isn't clean either, now that I'm zooming in. So I'll just might as well clean all that up. Let's go ahead and make that a selection. And because this one already has the image cut out, I'm not going to do a layer mask. I'm just going to straight up delete pixels. So that is destructive. However, the background was already destroyed from the original image, so that's cool. Now I can create a copy of it. And reactivate my clipping mask. And there we go. That's better. Control D to deselect. All of this, and this was from a photo. I don't know if some of you may have come later, but this is from a photo of the stove that I took on my kitchen floor. All right, so okay with that. I think I need to work on the back a little bit more. And then what I'll do, I'll create an alternate for the back. So the alternate for the back will be if you really want to spell something across the back. I will make a separate template. Where you can tile it. Yeah, that'll work. But you're going to have to stop your image right about here. So that's, you know what, no, I'm not going to do that. Y'all can do that. If y'all want to do all that, y'all can do that. I'm going to keep it simple because I don't want to make it so complicated that the people that are going to be using it the main way can't figure out what that additional layer is. So that will be good as is, ready to go. Let's check out what the back's going to look like. So that's the front. And then I'll go ahead and group all of that. The back. And let me turn off this stuff in the back because it's kind of distracting. If y'all don't remember, that's what I started out with the first time when I made my template. And then I showed y'all the image. So I'm going to delete all this extra stuff. Y'all don't need that. Y'all don't need to see me with my kitchen floor pictures, okay? I'm just showing you how you could do it on your kitchen floor too. Alright, so I will take those off. The class of... I'll show you how to do vertical type because I think that will be helpful. Maybe we'll do that on the solo design. We got all that information. So maybe we'll do vertical text on the boys example. So now, I don't feel confident changing it just yet because I need to modify this artwork for the back because it is not going to overlap like it's looking right now. So I need to go to my artwork, turn my guides back on, I'll turn off the paper guides, the tiles. All I really want to see are the bleed lines. And while this is being updated, I'm checking y'all's questions, see if y'all have any questions right now. No? Oh, y'all are quiet. Okay, so here are my outlines. I'm going to drag them for right now outside of the clipped area because I really want to see what I'm working with. I'm going to turn one off. Until I get what I need. So I'm looking at, oh, what am I doing? Drawing stuff with a pen tool. Excuse me. All right, let's do So really my artwork needs to come down a little bit so that I don't overlap. Watercolor background all over, Control T. Let's drag it down a little bit. So I will clearly not overlap. Okay. Just watch it change in real time. Come on, baby. That works. That's it. Put the other one on. Perfect. So now what I have to focus on, let's turn the guidelines off. Completely off and save. Yes. So I'm almost done with the mock-up phase. This is actually pretty exciting. So we'll showcase the back, the front, and if I have time and energy tonight, I'll also go ahead and do the graduation cap layout. We'll see, we'll see. Okay. Now I can drag these back inside my folder and clip them, create a clipping mask. See, now it's more believable because the way I had it, I was making it to where it stopped, so it didn't have a chance to overlap. That is believable now. So this is the back completed. This would be the front completed. Anything else? Just so I can get rid of that one. Alright, so I think that's it. Well, at least for the stole there. So I'm going to take the back and do Alt's version over here. And then maybe when we showcase the grad cap, it'll be right there. So let's go ahead and let's do a, I'm just going to put 13:13 ratio because usually most of our mock-ups and our thumbnails and everything are on a pretty much a square view. Then there'll be a little bit of space at the top if you need to put your business name, anything like that. So I'm going to hit, make sure delete crop pixels is off for this because when I hit enter and I crop this, I don't want to remove my pixels that might be outside of this area. I want to preserve them. So yes, it makes the file bigger, but I probably have some junk outside of there that I did not want to take off. So the back copy, I'm on the move tool and I'm just shifting it a little bit. And this is also showing me that I need to add a black and white filter, probably the same filter. Oh, I don't have the filters I use for the front because I merged it down. Oops. Layer, new adjustment layer. Let's do black and white. And then layer, new. I don't think I changed the levels that much. So I'm going to leave the levels alone. Let's merge that down. Now the back of our stole is black and white. And I'm going to turn off this back because this is the one I truly want to see. All right. We're getting somewhere, guys. If you are still here with me, all 5 of you. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's do our alternate design first. We just told you we were going to do like more of the masculine design. So we have an alternate. So I can click on any of these arts, double click, opens up my artwork. Then I'm going to have to throw back on my guides. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the 13 by 19 tiles. Make sure I'm staying good within that realm. That way I can see where my overlap is. Group 2. Okay, so we'll call this one design 2, and then all of this will be a part of design 1, including the watercolor background. Okay, so let's make this 13 by 19 design work. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the keep on for printing. Delete that, of course. Oh, it's locked. Let me unlock it, because that's just our outline for our t-shirt. And I'm going to start, as far as design goes, with the single image 13 by 19 in mind. So if I design with the 13 by 19 in mind, I can always go bigger from there. All right, let's get into it. And I forgot we had all this elephant texture and all that on there, which should be helpful, you know, once we pull it together. So left and right, I'm going to be hanging off a little bit. All right, let's arrange our photos. Yep, this one is Rona. So let's do 1, 2 on one side, 3, 4 on the other side. And everything we're doing right now, we're making sure that we are maintaining within this 13 by 19 space. And maybe, you know what, I'll let you keep the walking solo on here, even though it's a part of one of the other templates. I'll be generous. But of course we have to make it fit down to one side. And maybe if that was something, maybe that's something you could put on the back, if you were doing the back. Making sure I'm inside of this blue space here. And really, I shouldn't even be touching the blue. I should be truly within it. I'm being quarter slick here, trying to make it as big as possible. Like I said, if you clip off some of the outline or the drop shadow, it's not a big deal. You definitely don't want to crop out any of the text. And And what we'll do here, we'll go ahead and take off said we were going to do one of them with the vertical text. So let's do that. Let's do instead of the regular horizontal text, let's do vertical text. And we'll do class of, and then maybe we'll put 20 like big at the bottom. The funny thing is you're not going to have a straight stole, so you don't want to make the vertical text go too long unless it's something that's absolutely going to be in the center. And then you have to be careful that you're actually pressing it in the center. That's the only thing about this vertical text. If I put it over here to the side, I want to show y'all vertical text. I'll just leave it as an element. Like let's say you only had one picture or one photo. So maybe you want class of to be big on one side and then your photo. And maybe the mascot over there. So let's do walk-in. I'm going to copy this layer style, paste it on my class of. And then let's do alternate version of that. And let's do 20. I've never done this before. Can I go vertical to horizontal text? Let's see. It would make sense that you could be able to do it, but I don't know. Never tried it. Let's see. Yep. There we go. That's neat. Okay, so that's something I learned. Just figuring it out. So let's take our 20, Control T. I'm going to make it bigger. And like I said, I'm still making sure this all fits on my 13 by 19. And we have a school logo, so I'm going to take the logo here. And this is a kind of an odd logo. Most logos are going to be more square. This one is definitely more of a landscape style logo. Let me see if I can do a stroke to this one. And let's do it in white. 100% opacity. And then let's do a drop shadow. Just trying to see what's going on right now. And let's drag this logo wherever the 20 is. We got a lot going on here. So 20, we'll drop it behind the 20. Oh, this has its own, that's not cute. Bring it out of the text layer. Okay, and I'll play with that logo in a little bit. Let's do the class of, that's about as tall as we can make it if we were trying to make this a straight up 13 by 19. So let's say if this was 13 by 19, I might go with this photo. Uh-oh. My photos are grouped, obviously. Photo of the honor roll, and let's add the photo of basketball. And I'm still staying within my 13 by 19 here. I'm just rasterizing some of these photos. And that one I don't think we ended up using. We have our solo design. I call them the abstract lines. Let's grab those, bring them up a little bit. And then we still have our background image there. And I'm keeping the faded off edges there because if you did decide to do this as a 13 by 19, I want you to have some distinction there. All right. Let's do the first name, last name, because this is such a narrow fabric here, or substrate here. I'm going to do the first name top, last name bottom. Let's go ahead and decrease. It's got 45, let's make that 36. Control T, we'll transform that, make it a little bit larger. This way we make sure you have all the data that you need on a 13 by 19, and then we'll grow from there. And we'll leave the walk-in solo, class of my own, where it is. And if I can fit all of these images on here, I will. Maybe those three. And then maybe we just don't include that one on the one-sided design. We could, but then we cover up his jersey, so is it worth it? I don't think we need that one. I'm sort of covering up that honor roll, so I'll probably modify that. I can put the honor roll here and the GQ picture at the bottom. Come on, GQ. There we go. And this is what takes the most time, honestly. Once you have a template, it's just placement and just reimagining what the design space really looks like based on what they give you. Let's see. So if we do 3 pictures on both, then you can just show them that it costs more to do more than 3 pictures. And if they see what it looks like with 3 photos, then they should at least get an idea of why can I, oh, I have to hit enter, lock in the transfer of my last one. Now, Control T, where are my guidelines? I don't know what's going on here. Okay. I'm guessing it's not showing my guides. And rasterize that layer. Oh, the outside of the image is huge. Okay, so what I'll do to correct that is let's do Control X, Control V. I just want to shrink that down a little bit. So all of the head sizes are basically the same. Here we go. I'm happy with that. One, two, three. So our photo layer is done. We've got our solo design on there. And that's it. That's your 13 by 19 print. Let me go ahead and save this. And I'm not really happy with this logo right now. I'll probably figure out something for that. I just want to get an idea. Go ahead and look at the mock-up, see what we're working with. Y'all still here with me? Hey, Shakia. Yeah, this has been a long one. I'm actually showing them how I do a template design pretty much from scratch. A template as well as a mock-up at the same time. I know you do a lot of this stuff too. So you know what goes into it. I'm just giving them a heads up. So by the time I make the template available, they can make a decision, because sometimes I get people asking, you know, why don't I do the from scratch videos anymore? And I learned that the majority of the folks who are watching didn't necessarily really want to know how I was doing it from scratch. They wanted to know how to edit the templates. So I focused a lot more energy on that. So I said what I would do is, as long as I can record, when I'm doing certain projects like this, I'll show you what I do. So that way, the ones that that really want to work from the ground up, I can show you my resources. Yeah, I feel you, love. Well, you know what? I'm going to leave this video up. So definitely, you know, if you fade out, if you get some sleep tonight, great for you. I'm going to, I'm probably going to finish this up tonight so that we can have our mock-up for this. I may get to the graduation cap mock-up, so that'll be fun. I'll show you that. But basically all I'm going to do is cut it out and show you how to take your 9.5 by 9.5 and just use a smart object, warp it onto that layer, and then you can use that as your mock-up. So I'm going to stay up and knock it out because I have to do some not so fun kind of tax paperwork tomorrow, and I can't do design and technical work at the same time. It's two different modes of my brain. So I'm going to have to neglect y'all tomorrow on design side. So I'm trying to do as much as I can tonight. So yeah, that looks about right. Got everything on there. That logo could get on there a little bit better. Text not cut off. But for 13 by 19 girly tomboy, that's your 13 by 19. So if you want to keep everything else white and then just have like a little bit of your image that fades off top and bottom, it just doesn't look like you have just a rectangle or a square that just like abruptly cuts off. You know how I feel about that. So we'll have that in store. And then of course we'll have the version that you can go all the way up to the center of the back of the neck. Perfect, perfect. All right, so now I have that background. I'm going to call this 13 by 19 background. And then maybe the majority of folks will end up using it this way. Let's duplicate that, and now I'll make the all over background. All dash over. You know what I should have done? I should have cleaned up my options. But all I did was give y'all options for colors and stuff, so y'all might actually appreciate that. And if you watch, there's a video tutorial on both of these templates, the watercolor and the solo design. So I'm not going to show you particularly how to play with these elements of the templates because I have a video for both of those already. So now for the all over, guess what I get to do? Disable that layer mask and play from here. Okay, so I get to take my scratch grunge, Control T, and work that all the way up to the top of my 13 by 19 here. And best believe I will still use my, oh, you know what? I gotta put back on my two 13 by 19s now. So let's take off, put on top and bottom tile and take off the 13 by 19 single. All right, so this is the tiled version. Taking my scratch grunge, and I think I'm going to do like I did before and stop it before it gets to the curve so that you don't have to worry about going over that middle seam or tiling more than 2 sheets of paper. Go. So the bottom texture print, let's see what's on there. Everything here. Let's link that to the, if I haven't already moved it, I think I did move it. I know I did move it. So I have to delete that layer mask and do it over again. So let's do the bottom texture. We have a splash paint, a paint splatter. We have the alligator, and then we have the elephant texture. I'm going to go ahead and line those all centered. Oh, that's not what I'm going to do. Alligator has its own little thing going on. Alright, alligator is moved to the right location. Paint splatter, let's go ahead and move that to the right location. So this one will go color all the way to the tips and fade off white behind the neck. But we'll still be able to do that with only 2 sheets of 13 by 19. Let's get the elephant texture layer. And I really need to quit cheating and make sure I'm getting to that bleed area. Because you'll see sometimes if you're trying to save just the slightest little bit of paper or ink, but you're setting yourself up because you're making it harder to press and not make errors, it ends up being a production issue when you start having high production. So initially, it might be okay to spend a lot of time making sure you get something perfect, but you want to give yourself an allowance for if you had to do 20 of these in a day. You don't have to be so exact every single time. Yeah, you use a little bit more ink, possibly, you know, a little bit more paper, but you made your job easier. Okay, so I got my bleed good there. So for the bottom texture, I'm just going to do a layer mask and a gradient fade off. And of course, it's on white as my foreground color. So I'm going to turn it to black because black is going to conceal, white reveals. Holding down shift so I get my straight line. And there's our fade off there. Now, as far as our abstract lines, let's move those. Move them down so we can clearly see our image there. I'm feeling good about that. And now the gradient is now all of a sudden going all the way from the top of this artboard down, and we don't need that. We need the gradient, which is this gradient fill here. To come down shorter. So let's see if I do a shape. That's not a shape. If I do a shape, matter of fact, I already have a shape. Let's grab that shape. And I'm just going to test a theory right now that if I do a clipping mask, create a clipping mask, it does not start my gradient over. So basically this gradient is almost independently or dependent on the size of the artboard, which is kind of sucky for this, but I know how to change my gradient to accommodate this. I'm just going to manually pull these stops down lower. However, if and or when I change the artboard size, this gradient will be affected, and all the gradients will be affected. Okay. All right, so I'm good on that. And now I'm going to bring back my layer mask, and because it's separate and not linked, I'll be able to transform it, drag it right up to that edge. And then as far as down here, I can let it go to the end here, but I think what I'm going to do is give you two options to do that. And it's lighter. I kind of want to go with a full color. So let me go to my layer mask. And this one is a real faint one. I want a heavier one. Not quite that heavy. That's a good one. Honestly, this one and this one are the same. It's just I have an additional, if I turn this off, disable that, it's the same thing. It just has a another clipping or a layer mask on top of this clipping pad that allows it to look watermarked. So I just need that one, turn it on, drag it over to my art layer. Then I'm going to delete that layer mask and I'm going to come up with an all new one. Making sure I'm staying inside of my 13 by 19, at least at the top, and then at the bottom I'm going to fade it to full bleed because I want the tips to be full colored. I just want to have something to fade off the top, and I don't necessarily need anything to fade off the side because we're going to have solid color on the side. That's really what we want. I'm just giving myself a clean fade off to the top so we can leave that back white and not worry about it. So for this one, let's go in with our black. Start from the inside meat, shift, pull up, and now we can take control and click on this, and we have all of the pixels selected here. Then I can take my all over background copy and create a clipping mask. Voila, delete that. And now I have that clean little fade, like it basically gives me a fade off look, but it has some artistic kind of feel to it there. I have my little scratches there. If I don't like the scratches, I can take them off and do the full color, and you'll still see the top faded off. All right, I like the scratches because it allows me to see the paint splash and the heavier color down below. It looks better to me. And I'll play with this logo. I'm not going to play with that in y'all's face because I have to do something to it. It's not doing what I wanted to do. And I can't move any of this stuff because it is already set in place to be optimal for the 13 by 19. So now what I'm going to do is turn off my guides and see how my baby looks. Turn it off. Turn off the background. Oh yeah, I dragged another one inside of here. I was like, what is this? Right click. That rectangle. Okay. Control S to save it. And let's see it work. All right. So that's it. Let me see why oh, we didn't pull the image up enough to reach the back. I wonder why. Let me go back and see. Let's bring our guides back. Oh, I had all of this that I could go back up to. I'm tripping. Let me go back to the layer mask for background. I'm gonna unlink it so I can change the layer mask all by itself without changing the elements of the background. I was just supposed to make sure I stayed clear of the point at which these start peak, like where the peak is. So that should make it work. I was gonna say something should wrap around that neck because we don't want it to be white. All right, let's see the change. And then something is not looking right with my text down below, so I have to figure out what's going on there. One thing at a time. Okay, there we go. So now the image has gone up into the back. So you have a little bit of black, you have the green, you have the gold logo. I can go ahead and close out of that file. All right, so we did our 2 art variations. So this file will come with those 2 art variations. So that'll be fun to see what y'all do with those. Something's going on to where my 20 and my walking solo. Uh-oh, I did not mean to do that. It's appearing fine here, but it's looking funny on my mock-up. Oh, that was something else I wanted to show y'all. How we can do the stethoscope. If anybody's like graduating from nursing school, I've been obsessed with doing this little stethoscope. Oh, this isn't the one though. I have one where I stretched it out. I'll have to use that one. And I made it to where you can change the colors. So I'll give you all that probably if I can remember. That was in all over. Now this one might be a little bit difficult to do without doing the back of the neck. So this is an entire group. Stethoscope. Death. Okay, I think I spelled it right. Yeah, it's time to go to bed. All right. Let's bring our stethoscope in. And it has a layer where you can change the colors. But let's say this gentleman is becoming a doctor. Why not? I definitely believe it to be possible, so we're gonna work it out. Hold on. I don't know if this is just previewing weird. Okay, it's just previewing weird. It's like I'm missing pixels now. Something's going on. And this will be interesting to see how that works. Enter. Here we go. And then for the color of the stethoscope, you might even want to put like the college that they're going to, like the little logo inside the stethoscope or something. Let's change it from pink to gold. Or gold or green. Gold stands out more. We'll go with the gold. All right, and that'll be one of the little Easter eggs in that file. Nope, no need to save that one. All right, let's see. And I know it's going to be a little weird of how it does on the back of the neck, but we'll just have to see how that works out, whether we need to fade it off. I like it. All right, so I'm going to, on the design, bring it down a little bit so that we see more of it on the front. I like that, guys. I think that's a cool thing to do for even the college graduates, the nurses and doctor graduates or medical doctor graduates, veterinarians. Let me figure out what's going on right here. That's the back. Something is going on. It has to do with the blend mode. So I'm thinking it has to do with this being on multiply. Oh, I know what it is. It's overlapping. So this is what I was supposed to do in the first place anyway. It's the bottom print overlapping. I'm glad this happened because I forgot to do this totally. So let me go ahead and control click onto my stole here. I'm going to do a layer mask here. And same thing, layer mask here. And then I'm going to grab my black and figure out which side is which. So this is supposed to be my right side. So I need to clean off my left side. And let me get a bigger brush. That way I can just handle this in one stroke. There it is. Over here, same thing. This one is my right side, so I'm going to clean off my left. There we go. I needed to do that from the jump, and I totally forgot about that. Same thing with the back. And just in case, rasterize the vector. Let's apply that layer mask. Control click to make that selection. And I'm going to make a layer mask for both sides. Turn that off, we don't need it. And as far as my stethoscope. I definitely need to bring it down some. I'm gonna mess with it just a little bit so it doesn't cover up any faces, but I still get the look of it. And then I am going to create a mask here and brush off the top of the stethoscope. And for those of you who don't know, with your brushes, you can do Control-Alt and then right-click, and it'll change the sizes of your brush. And see how this looks, and I'll probably tweak this off video a little bit just to make sure it does exactly what I want it to do. But I at least wanted to give y'all a heads up on what it would be looking like, what it takes to make this template, and what kind of goes into it. So yeah, I'll definitely play with this a little bit more. And I'll do my grad cap. And I said I was going to stay up late and do the grad cap. I'll tell you what, I think I have at least a couple of people with me right now. Do y'all want me to go ahead and do this grad cap, or y'all ready to call it a night and I can just make it a part of the template? If y'all are going to stick with me, I'll keep recording. Just give me a sign that you're alive and you're not just sleeping, letting the video play. Well, okay, I have at least an audience of one. I'm going to keep it going, keep it flowing. All right, so like I said, I'll play with the stethoscope a little bit to make it look kind of like an optical illusion. The problem is when we're doing this design and we're going straight up, of course. Oh, I know what I can do. I can show y'all something I haven't shown y'all before. Let's go to my artwork. I had to do this with the mask. Whenever I make the image look like it's wrapping around something, I'm distorting it. And I think I used the puppet warp. I believe so. We're going to use a puppet warp to kind of elongate it. So let's take off, matter of fact, let's just delete that layer mask right now. Yep, I do have a puppet warp on here. And what a puppet warp does is it allows you to put pins in it. So what I did was I put pins at the top here, and then I manipulated where I wanted these to go so that it made it more straight, because the way it was before, it was way too curved and almost, you know, creating a circle made it very difficult. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete that pin. I guess I could have kept it. I'm going to stretch it up. Now with this one, I'm more concerned with having a really long and straight neck piece than I am at keeping it looking proportionate. Because basically, in order to make this look like I need it to, I have to kind of exaggerate it a little bit, exaggerate the length so it'll look straight going around. I'm gonna straighten that up a little bit. It looks unrealistic that it'll be exactly straight, but it's helping me do what I need to do right now. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna delete that pen, and I'm gonna add one here, pull that one up, and add another one here, pull that one up. I kind of bent it out of shape a little bit here, but I can always go back and modify my pens. And then I also, now that I've changed this, I have to go and clean up my mask here, which shouldn't be that much, because I made a mask for the earplugs and the inside of the, I guess, the end of the stethoscope, so that the silver would show through, and I'll just have to redo that. So delete layer mask, and I'll redo that once I get it really where I want it. I'm going to delete that pen. I should have put the pen more in the center to give it least disruption. Alright, say enter. Hey Bonita, you are not super late. We are staying up super late. So I appreciate you joining us. I'm actually staying just because I know that we have at least finding her way hanging out with me, and I promised that I was going to go ahead and get this mock-up and template done, and then I'll do the graduation cap too. So I'm playing with the stethoscope right now, which is really not necessary. So I can play with the stethoscope later because it's not a necessary part of the template, but I'm using the puppet warp tool to kind of manipulate how it falls on the template. And so I'm going to leave this as is. And I'm trying to figure out if there is any possible way, if we can use this artwork for the graduation cap too, that would be bomb. So I'm going to save this and see if I can make that come true. Alright, so for the graduation cap, let's see, I have that one and this one. And literally these are photos that I took in my kitchen. Just trying to show you all how you can make your own mock-ups if you need to. That you don't have to purchase them. You can make them from scratch. This is one of those things I promised I would show y'all, you know, some of my magic. Okay, let's go with the photo. I'll bring it in to see which one we're going to end up doing. This one, I think this one shows a little more real estate at the top, so we'll go with that one. And let's cut her out. I'm going to use a pen tool because I have not been happy with the lasso. So pen tool it is. And I see I had a little motion in the tassel down here, so you see the motion going on there. What I'm doing is I'm clicking where I want a sharp point, and then I'm clicking and dragging where I want a curve. And that looks like a shadow there. I took this with my little iPhone, probably some of the worst lighting ever is in the kitchen, or in my kitchen anyway. So I did what I can do. I'm just showing you how to do your thing. Now there are, better stock images out there, which I can show you how to do that too. But my goal of this assignment was to show you how you can literally take a photo of something that you have and create the template and the mock-up. I'm trying to make sure that I'm good on the black and that I'm not including too much of the outside of the image. I want to make sure this looks really clean. And here where I have this little bump, I can choose to, kind of gradually cut that off, or I could have kept it on there. I think it looks more visually appealing without it. And this is a very inexpensive grad cap. So when you see all these lumps and bumps in here, they're really there. So if you have a problem with that, on your mock-up at least, you can't do anything about the actual cap itself, but you can kind of, clean it up on your mock-up. Alright, almost done. Just have to get the other side of this tassel. And this is just one of those things that takes practice doing the pen tool mask. I'm not quite a guru at it because I haven't been doing it, but maybe a couple of years, and even then I still kind of cheat. Don't use it all the time. Alright, so I have this, it is a shape, it's a vector. So if I go to mask now, it's a vector mask. I can change these nodes. I can still feather it. As a matter of fact, if I double click here and click on my mask, I have the option to feather this, but it's still not a bitmap mask. So I can feather it if it looks a little harsh. I think that looks good there. Just move my grad cap to down here. I'm going to make sure I'm not overlapping anything important. And I want to give it enough size too. Now here's the issue for the grad cap image. This cap is 9.5 by 9.5, I believe, is the actual dimensions, or either that or it gives me like a little bit of a bleed. I can't remember. But you'll have to measure for your grad cap. Let's do this. Let's play with taking this artwork. That's my art. I'm going to drag a copy of it onto the top over here. Let's go ahead and delete this layer mask because we're going to make a whole new layer mask. And instead of putting it on multiply right now, we're going to do normal. And I'm just going to bring the opacity down just a little bit so that I can see. Well, where is my cap? I want to say this might automatically have a multiply effect. I'm not sure. Let me just change the fill then. I think that's what it is. So I'll pull the fill down so I can see a little bit better. And I am going to try my luck to see if I can. Okay, that's the front of the cap. I don't know if this is exactly going to work. We shall see. Before I do this, I'm going to go ahead and just create a rectangle that is 9.5 inches, not 6.5, 9.5 inches by 9.5 inches. Okay, so that's really what it looks like. I'm going to make sure the art fits within this space. And because we did it more of a 13 by 19 design, we're definitely going to have a little bit of an issue there. I'm just trying to keep you from having to design something more than once. Sometimes it's just necessary. Yeah, we may have to do a little rearranging for that. Might not be too bad if we could keep it like that. And let's go to our artwork. So what I'll do is I will widen up my background here. And again, let's do a 9.5 by 9.5, 9.5 inch by 9.5 inch. That's the size, but what we're looking for is the scale. Making sure that so the 13 by 19 image needs to go wider. And I'm just trying to give myself an idea of what I can do for these sides without just like having extra print out there. So let me go back. Let me go back. And let's create that shape again. 9.5 inches by 9.5 inches. And instead of trying to move all of these images when it comes time to do a graduation cap, because you would have to do all of this each time you did a cap. So I'm trying to make it simple for you. Let's take the abstract lines, and what I'm going to do is duplicate that group and merge it. So you'll have to remember to do this part. Apply layer mask. So what I'll do is kind of let this design maybe hang off the edges, so you have something. Give you a little visual interest there. And I will drop these all the way to the bottom and just put it just above the background layer, that rectangle. I don't need it anymore. I meant for my abstract lines to go above this layer. Let's delete that. And my abstract lines are just something to give it a little visual interest to the edges there. So I know that might throw off my stole design right now. I'm just trying to see if I activated that for the grad cap design. Would that make it look less blank over here? Just give it a moment to save and update. I can't believe y'all are still up. Bless your hearts. Now, this is the hard stuff. This is the stuff I rarely show because most people aren't going to want to know this. So yeah, that actually looks pretty cool. So now what I'm going to do is take that art. I'm going to go ahead and select my rectangle. Or, no, I can't make it a new smart object. I have to keep it like this. So let me just go ahead and do a clipping mask on there. So I no longer need the rectangle. I'll delete it. Put this on 100% opacity. And what I'll do is, maybe for the sake of mocking up, I might put this one down here. And maybe I'll just pretend like this is a top view of the graduation cap. Or maybe you'll use this for your fans or something else. I don't know. That would be cool if you did a fan there. Yeah, don't get me started. Don't get me started. So let's do Alt, click and drag. And then we're going to edit, transform. Let's do a distort. And what I'm doing with my distortion, although I'm moving these points, I'm looking at the corners of the image that I have here. Zoom out a little more. And typically, this is the front. I'm trying to think, how do we typically do? Because now that I think of it, usually this design is meant to go from the front. The front is usually the top, and the back of the hat is usually the bottom. So instead of which one is that? 5. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to make my square be more of a diamond. So I'll unlink it, Control T, and turn it this way. And then let's Control T, just transform, make this a little bit smaller. So you may end up redoing the design. I don't know. I'm trying to give you best case scenario. You can just use the same design and just shrink it down to 9.5 and go. Let's do new layer. Okay, so this is the front of the cap. Usually they have the tassel in the front. So when I'm previewing this image, I'm going to Alt, create, oh, nope, duplicate this group. Before I duplicate it, I forget I need to relink my mask and my image there. Otherwise, they're going to move independently. So let's create a copy here. Get it as close as I can to that angle. Hit enter. And let's see. Let's see if it'll let us do puppet warp. No, that's not going to do us any good. I don't know, we'll try it. We'll tack there. And tack and move there. Tack and move. Yeah. My goal is to distort this so that it appears to be a part of this top here, but then it's still also a smart object, so it'll update automatically. So that's what my attempt is right now. Let's do the problem that I have with distort is that where my points are not the edge of my image anymore. Zoom out. So the only thing you can do is manipulate these corners and try to guess where they're going, but once you move one, the initial placement of the other one moves as well. I think we can get it. This is not as fun as it might look. Okay. Zoom out and grab this point and bring it in a little. And I believe you can do perspective as well. And I really should not be playing with these middle ones because they stretch them out without maintaining the aspect ratio. But if it helps me get the finished result, that is what I'm aiming for. Oh my gosh. This is so much harder than it looks. Maybe if I played video games or something, this would be fun to me. But this is so frustrating. Okay, and now I'm thinking I might be able to do a little bit of rotation. Control T, rotate it just a little bit. And then we'll go back to distorting it. And we're going to need a little bit of bleed off as well. So you got to keep that in mind, that you want it to be a little bit bigger than. But I can always make my square bigger than once I get it in place. So I'm going to call that in place. Bam. And then I'm going to what did I do with this square? Okay, so we'll call this one cap top view, and we'll call this one cap perspective. And then what I'm going to do at this point is take this object, throw a stroke on there. So I'm creating a bleed here, which I'm going to have to do anyway. Usually I give about at least a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch is definitely safer. Let's say 80 pixels should be plenty. And I'm going to give it a weird color at first. Say okay, make sure all of my edges are intact there. And what I'm going to do is take this layer and rasterize the layer style so that that stroke is no longer in effect. It's a part of the image. So when I control click it, I can go on to my layer mask. I'm going to delete that layer mask and I'm going to create a new one. Bam. And then I can turn this one off. And then this is going to put this on top of the cap here. And we're going to right click and want to create a clipping mask. Where is it? Create clipping mask. There we go. So now it looks like it's on. Alt, click and drag. Now we have the pink outlined edge on there. I want to do a color overlay. And I'm actually going to make it white because my paper would be white, or my fabric would be white right there. Oh, wait a minute. I don't want that showing because it's going to show my overhang. Alright, now this image has clipped to the entire hat, but we just wanted to clip only to the top of the hat. So I'm going to turn off the image right now, and we also have to take away the tassel. So I'm going to click, control click on the mask so that we at least have that selected. And I'm trying to see, do I want to use the polygon lasso? We should be able to because this is a straight up line. So let's do Alt. I'm going to do a little click, click, click in here. I know I advise y'all against that, but this is a pretty linear shape anyhow. And I held down Alt because I'm going to subtract that part of the mask. Now for the tassel is going to be a little bit different. As a matter of fact, I should definitely try to remove the tassel, maybe even by color. So I'm going to bring back my image, delete that layer mask, and go ahead and create a new one. And now we see that it is exactly clipped to the edge of the cap. Now what we need to do is remove where the tassel is. So let's go ahead and take that off for now. I'm going to control click the current mask that we have. You know what, let me deselect. Let's just see how good this quick selection tool can get this yellow. I knew it was going to be a mess. I'm not even going to do it. Let me grab my pen tool, and I'm just going to go to work with the pen tool because that lasso tool is going to be a mess. So what I'm doing is I'm clicking and dragging, trying to recreate the contour of what I'm selecting right now. The beautiful thing about the pen tool is once you have a selection and you did not turn it into a selection, but rather you left it a shape of a mask, it's a vector mask, and you can always go back and modify it. And I'm even going to take the button out because obviously you're not going to sublimate the button. Most times for the less expensive ones, I've seen them, they're just hot glued on there. So literally, you can take them off, put your fabric on there, and hot glue it back on. Hot glue the button back on. You just have to be very careful. And being exact here is not necessary because you're going to layer this on top of the graphic, but you do want to be believable. Now, because I am not, trying to keep this as a shape, I'm going to make this a selection, and I'll leave it at a 1 for the feather radius. So when I bring back my image here, I can grab my black paintbrush onto my layer mask, and I'm going to paint away. The area where I have selected, and now I can deselect, and I can also paint away. I have a soft brush. Let me go ahead and increase the hardness here and decrease the size. So now I have a hard brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that nothing that's possibly in here could be affecting my tassel there. So I'm good and cleaned up. And I would like it if my tassel, I could actually see the end of it hanging. So I'm going to grab this, the image, I'll grab the photo, and I'm going to link the two of them so that if one moves, the other moves. That way they're moving together. And I'm just going to make the perspective kind of float, and maybe I will grab the top view. And bring it lower. And like I said, maybe that top view isn't a top view. Maybe that's going to be a fan or something. Don't know, but you can always, as a matter of fact, let's delete this layer mask, and we will create a clipping mask instead. Whatever shape is below. Create a clipping mask. So if I create a circle down here instead, ellipse, and I think, I want to say those fans are probably somewhat like, 9.5 by 9.5, not sure. Let's center our circle here. Then if we turned off the diamond, now we can basically say that, that's a fan mock-up, and maybe put the actual fan seams and stuff on there. But you get the idea. And I want to do a totally different design for the fans and the hats, only because I think they should be a little bit different layout. I'm just trying to show you how to keep it very simple, design one time and apply it. And really, we don't need the back view if we're not going to be putting anything back here. But you may decide to put something in that little area there. And if so, maybe you'll mock it up here. And if it's worth doing another press for you, then it'll be worth it. Maybe you can offer to put their, you know, whatever college they're going to, maybe put that on the back just to kind of make it different. Like I said, if the ladies are wearing their hair down, it won't really matter what's in the back, but some people may want something in the back. Maybe you'll do another photo or something. You have that option, but it's not necessary. Now, I want to see something for this art. It does look pretty much plastered on top here. Let me see if we can play with any of these layer or blend modes to see if I can maybe get some of the fabric to show through. It is really hard to play with the blend modes on a black object. You almost need it to be, which makes sense. Let me do multiply, which is what I typically do. And then what I shall also do is a layer, new adjustment layer. We're going to play with the levels to kind of brighten it up over here. And I'm going to make it look as gray as I can make it look. While still maintaining a little bit of the contrast. It's just going to be really hard when you start with black. And then what I'll do is I'll take that same layer mask. Let me delete the layer mask that automatically comes on the levels. And I'm going to add the previous one from the artwork. I just alt-click, dragged it down, and it duplicated that. So then this way the levels that I'm playing with don't affect the entire cap, just the top up here. And same thing, I'm going to add a new layer and I'm going to make that layer be white fill. And same thing here. I'm going to grab that layer mask and apply it here. And I forgot that my layer mask has some foolery down here, and that's because of course it was hanging off the page before. So I have to go to all these layers and remove that. And I'm going to play with my blend mode here too. Lighten. That way it makes it look like maybe it's a little white satin fabric right there. Oh, woo! All right, so I'll find you a fan. I have some of those fans too. I need to figure out what the dimensions of them are. I forget. Like I said, I think it's a 9.5 as well. But we'll just keep it simple. So for those of you who just came on late tonight, I'm going to show you design 1 and design 2. We'll make sure it works. Like I said, this is not the 10-minute template. This is actually me showing you how I create the 10-minute templates and how many 10 minutes go into creating 10-minute templates. I don't even know how long I've been on here tonight. I'm sure it's been at least a couple of hours. But I appreciate y'all for hanging out with me. So I'm going to double click on the artwork. And as a matter of fact, before I change anything, I'm going to go ahead and export a JPEG version of this. Just so that I have something to reference. So when I sleep on it and come back in the morning, I may have something I want to change or clean up and make better. For instance, I can already see that I want to reverse those little abstract lines there. But I'll do that once I had a little sleep in my system. Okay, so that's Mockup for design 1. Let's look up design, or design 2. Let's do design 1 and see what that looks like. See how that translates, because we haven't seen how it translated into the cap design or the fan design. I'm so glad, love, like really and truly. I hope that this shows you it's not that intimidating once you learn a few tools, and it's really about problem solving. So once you gain some problem solving tools, you are limitless. All right. So this is the other layout, the watercolor layout, for those of you who may have missed that before and may not have been here for the entire 4 hours that we've been online right now. So yeah, this is the watercolor design. I'm liking it. I like how it looks like it's really that white, you know, that white satin fabric that you would typically sublimate on the top here. It looks like the white satin. I am impressed. Now the color of this tassel, let's do this. Let's do a layer, new adjustment layer. We're going to do hue saturation and clip it to the previous layer. And we're going to go for the yellows and change just the yellows there. So 0 for our lightness. There's some other color in here besides yellow, which means that I would have to, as a matter of fact, this would be a good exercise. Pulling out whatever this other color is. So I'm thinking it's probably magenta. Let's see. Magenta. No, it's not magenta. So I can pull magenta. Matter of fact, I can pull all of these colors all the way down. Pull the red. Oh, it was red. You see that? So if I pull the red all the way down, and let me reset everything, because we only have black and that yellow in here. So if I reset, and because this yellow does have a little, I can see now that it does have some red in it. I'm going to pull the red all the way down, and then I'm going to merge this down. And now when I go to do a layer, new adjustment layer, hue saturation, if I choose this, just the yellows, I should be able to pull all my saturation all the way down. It should turn completely gray. I see a little tint of color down here at the end, and there may be something else. Let's see. And what I truly should have done, let me go back a second before I merge those. I'm going to pull every color down except for yellow. So red's, I already pulled that down. Yellow I'm not going to fool with. My greens I'm going to pull down. The saturation, cyan, pull down that saturation. Blues, pull that down. And then magenta, pull it down. So now this hat should really look black and white. It might have a little tint of yellow in it, but that's fine. Now I'm going to merge that down and do layer, new adjustment layer, hue and saturation. Now it doesn't matter what level I change, it should change everything with the colorize feature. Oh, no. I can just change the master and it won't change the black. Colorize is gonna even make my blacks have a hue. So I want to make this a little blue, maybe a little darker. It's also affecting, when I change the lightness, it is affecting the hat itself. Guess my best bet probably would be just to grab that tassel, select inverse, I'm trying to figure out how I want to select this tassel without causing too much more work. Control D. That paints that. Control Z. Select the inverse. I'm trying to select. Okay, that's what it is. So it does have this selected, and I want to add to the selection by grabbing this tassel down here. It's just really odd because it's selecting this outside too, and that's not what I want. So I'm being lazy. I don't feel like cutting out that top of the tassel again. So I am troubleshooting ways where I don't have to do that. Okay, so I can Control X, edit, paste special, paste into place. So paste it right on top and get rid of that now. And now I'm going to go ahead and rasterize a vector mask, apply, that mask, and in this way I'm going to copy and paste this part of the tassel, Control C, go back to my white layer, edit, paste special, paste into place, and just clean that up. Color overlay. Let's do black, and let's do the color overlay here. So I'll just copy this layer style, paste this layer style, and I'm going to merge, I rasterize the layer styles before I merge them together. And now this is going to be my tassel color. So if I go to create, let's do layer, new fill layer, we'll do a solid color. I'm control clicking on the thumbnail so I get the active selection of whatever's in that layer. And then I'm going to delete that layer mask and come down here and create a new layer mask based on that selection. Now I can turn this off. I have a red tassel, looks a little rough. Let's see if we can play with the blend mode here and get what I want. Usually multiply or darken is my go-to. Let's do multiply. And then I'm going to do a adjustment layer for the levels because I'm not really seeing much of my rope because I don't have a good contrast of black and white. So I'm going to make that happen. As much as I can make it happen. Then I'm going to take this tassel, delete that layer mask, drag the layer mask from the tassel so that it applies here. Looks like I need to feather that off a little bit. I'll probably just have to feather this selection a little bit and I can play with that later. I just really want to make sure that I can change this tassel color. Oh, I also need a black and white layer, new adjustment layer. We need a black and white layer, so it takes that yellow down. And I'm going to put the layer mask on this entire group so it has the color, black and white. And of course I have to bring that button back through, clean up around the tassel, bring the gold back there in the middle of the tassel. But for the most part, I think I have what I need. Woo! And this one, if I turn it to color, there we go. And honestly, what I'll probably end up doing is getting a stock photo of the graduation cap. I don't know. It'd probably be a little bit easier to to play with because they're usually taken on with a professional photo or a professional camera, so it's easier to get these details cut out. But it is what it is, and if I'm going to give y'all a template, then I like to make sure that everything looks good. So I probably will change it out, but my whole goal was to show you how to do it yourself from scratch. And I wanted to be true to that with the same tools that you would have at home, i.e. your camera phone, which is what I used, my iPhone. I used like a board that I had at home. You could use a sheet or anything else to lay onto the ground so that you can get a decent photo. I used a water jug and a pan, a pot, to take a picture of this cap. You could also use someone else's head if you want, but then like you have to remove hair and all of that. So that's pretty much the thick of it. I'm going to delete some of these layers we don't need right now. To kind of keep things clean. All right, so good on that. I'm going to go ahead and save this one as design 2. I forgot to change the background to white for the circle. And I'm adding a drop shadow just so if I do have a white outline, I can see it. I'm going to go ahead and play as if I'm going to do an inner stroke with the black, because usually those fans have like a black outline on them. For some reason, it's playing with my preview right now, and I don't like it. Let's also do an inner glow with the black, and let me see what that looks like. So that kind of gives you an idea that that's going to be the fan, but of course I would make that look a little more realistic too. Alright, so I'm going to call it a night on that. Looks like we have a few more people here. Y'all have any questions for me or any suggestions, anything that you want to see on something like this? While you have me here, pretty much this is almost like a one-on-one now. Y'all make sure that you like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. I do a lot of live demos. And I also like to incorporate your photos, and sometimes it might even be your client's photos, something that you need help with doing. If I'm doing a template and I need an inspiration, for the template, then you guys hit the jackpot and get a free template. So in order to be eligible for that, though, you need to be in the Innate Creatives Facebook group and make sure that when I do post that, hey, I'm doing this template or I'm thinking about doing this, I need photos of so-and-so, then you just drop photos, and more than likely, I'll usually do 2 people because I use one to create the initial template, and then I use another photo or another one of our members' photos to create the actual 10-minute template tutorial. Well, awesome. Well, I'm glad you're still soaking things up and, you know, the eyes are still open. Awesome. And I'm thinking of, I want to do this, but I just don't know what the supply, you know, is right now for these type of stoles. So, and I don't have inventory big enough to like really offer them. But what I want to do, and this will be on an honor system, I'm going to, normally my templates are $20. So what I'm going to do for this one is make it $10, but I want you to pay it forward to at least one senior. And this could be good for your business anyway. I want you to make a sample and use a real senior and honor them by giving them that. So yes, it's a little bit of a giveaway. It would require some sacrifice on your end too, but it's just my way of trying to see if there's a way that we can help to kind of soften the blow of the whole down, you know, I don't want to call it, you know, anything more than what it is, but it definitely is a disappointment at the very least for our seniors. So if I discount, this is a template and a mock-up combination. Usually my mock-ups are $20, my templates are $20. This one is going to have 2 different designs, and I'm going to show y'all for those that just joined in. What is it? Napoli rooted. Hey, love. Yeah, so for those that just joined in, let me see. That's one, and then this is the other. I'm going to go ahead and export JPEG. So this technically can also be used as the t-shirt templates, because I'm giving you, if you watched me from the beginning, I developed these designs off of 2 different t-shirt templates. So for $10, you're going to get basically two different t-shirt templates, and then you'll have the layout for the stole, but you'll also have the mock-up for that as well. So this is going to be a major deal, but it also comes with a little responsibility. And it's on the honor system, so I can't make you do it, but I know that if you're doing them in the first place, you already have a soft spot for the seniors. And this isn't just about money, because these things are never just about money. They take a lot of time to do them, and each stole is different. So it's not like you can mass produce them. So if you're making these at all, I know you're not in it just for the money. You actually care about the kids. So do one for free, and we'll come up with a hashtag for it. Maybe like Innate loves the kids or something like that. I don't know. None of your customers will know what it is, because I don't want you to have to advertise to your customers that you use templates, especially if you're creating final goods, produced goods, they never have to know it's an Innate Lab template. But if you're advertising in some of the other groups and like showing off your work, I love for you all to show off. I love, you know, when you all tag me in those images that you post. And it helps the group grow. You can refer them to the YouTube if they start asking you, well, girl, how you design in Photoshop? Girl, I don't know, I just follow Shanon. So y'all just, you know, send them to the YouTube. It's definitely appreciated. I do a lot of this for free, and yes, there are some things I make money on, but staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning making videos is not one of those good profitable things yet. So I do it because I love it and I love y'all and I know that y'all appreciate it. So it keeps me going. So yeah, we have 2 designs here, 2 totally different templates. We got the solo design, we have the watercolor design, and I want you to imagine that any of the templates, if you've ever purchased a template design from me before, any of those template designs, the tie-dye one will probably be cool. But yeah, incorporate those. The Versace looking one, you can incorporate that as a stole design. And I wanted to show y'all too, for those that just came on, we have like the full looking one, but if you go into your art, double click, you can also do it as the 13 by 19 version, and all it is just the background changes. So for design 1, instead of the all over watercolor, I'm going to bust it down to just the 13 by 19. And literally you could take one 13 by 19 sheet, you would end up, and you can press them at the same time. You can press the left and the right side of the stole at the exact same time. And I think I have a few stoles, so maybe I'll demonstrate the one sheet method and then the tiling method. I won't be able to do that till Tuesday though, and I know we're getting close to, you know, graduation time, if whatever they're going to do, you know, to celebrate the seniors. But see, that's your 13 by 19 there. It is still significant, but you still have a lot of white, so the back would be completely white, and maybe you can do, you know, a little advertisement or something on there. If they want to pay you extra, put something on the back, but other than that, that's it. That's one 13 by 19 sheet, and you didn't have to get any extra on it. So I just want y'all to be aware that it has that option in there too. So I'm setting y'all up. I'm trying to set you up to get this thing knocked out. So I'll put my all over back on there because, you know, that's how I roll. I like to see the big images. Okay, cool. So I'm glad y'all stuck in there and got to learn something tonight. I will, you know, I usually clean it up a little bit more before I make it available to y'all. And then I will do a 10-minute tease. So if you're up tonight, then you are the first to know that I'm going to go ahead and post this in the a creatives group, and I'm going to ask for graduation pictures for the 10-minute tease template. So of the 5 of you watching right now, if y'all go ahead and get, and it doesn't have to be your family graduation pictures or whatever, it can be a client that already told you they want the graduation stole done. As long as they're okay, and you might want to, well, you do want to reach out to them and ask them if that's okay. So just say, hey, I have this lady who normally charges $30 to design, to do graphic design. She says that, you know, she'll do the graphic design for me for free if I post your pictures. You don't have to tell them that until after you win, because you won't know that you're selected until, you know, till that selection time comes. So yeah. Or you can purchase a template and throw the photos on there once you get them. So I just want to make sure that you all are getting permission to use the photos if I'm using them in the templates, because I don't want somebody, like, you know, a couple years down the road like, oh, wait a minute, is that me on the website? I never knew. So y'all make sure y'all letting people know, so don't be coming at me crazy, okay? All right, so I'm getting ready to post that in the group like now before I go to sleep, and when I wake up in the morning, I will choose, well, I'll probably give it a little time. I'll probably give it till about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, because most people do their church services, they rest up, all that good stuff. So maybe tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I think 8 o'clock is a good time. So tomorrow, 8 o'clock, we'll do the 10-minute tease version of it, which is basically a straight demo. So normally those videos are no longer than, you know, 20 minutes to an hour, depending on if I'm doing extra stuff for y'all. All right, so get your pictures together and be ready for me. I'm waiting on you. All right, loves, I appreciate y'all. Love you dearly, and I will check on y'all. I would say tomorrow, but it's going to be today, because today gets tomorrow. All right, y'all have a good one. Stay creative and stay safe and healthy. Love you guys. Bye now.